watching New Vision TV News with me, Ruthina Seja, broadcast from the New Vision newsroom. We'll take a look at the news around Uganda, around East Africa, around the world, and later in this bulletin, we shall take a look at our daily Pal of Africa series and also a special report. We start off with the news around Uganda. Let us start from Buyende district, where a 58-year-old woman has become a tourist attraction since her body started growing gray hair like an ape. Now, the condition is threatening her life and worrying her relatives. Dr. Kavima of Kamuli General Hospital says the disorder may be a result of hormone disorders, which may have occurred following the bout of malaria. Dwaki Namulondo, a resident of Gumpi sub-county, started getting disorders following a bout of malaria coupled with the beta test in her mouth before, during and after getting a meal. According to Robert Bakura, the brother who is taking care of her, the disorder started in October last year, adding that they have since moved her to different healthy facilities, including Bugaya Healthy Center 3 and later to Jinja Hospital, where she was diagnosed with acute ulcers. It was then that scores developed on her mouth before her face started growing gray hair. It spread to the neck and are now visible even on her chest. The hair grows quickly. They have to shave it after 6 hours. Bakura said, now the neighbors suspect Namulondo must have offended someone who must have bewitched her. Let's move into Kamuli district, where the Bishop of Busoga Diocese, the Right Reverend Samson Paul Naimahe, has called upon men to take good care of their wives instead of tormenting them because they have outlived the beauty for which they were chosen. While officiating as chief guest during the Kamuli Archdiaconary Mary's Day celebrations held at St. Peter's Church, Nabirumba in Kamuli district on Saturday, Naimahe observed that when a woman declines to yield to a man's proposal, men tend to think there is something wrong with the woman. When a woman accepts and finally produces the first, second and third child, men refuse to even wed them, claiming they are still studying them. Naimahe noted that women are a creation of God, completed with perfection. The event was organized by Mothers Union of Busoga Diocese, where Naimahe hailed the Mothers Union for championing innovation and reviving mentorship programs in the diocese. Coming in from Wakiso District, the State Minister for Primary Education, Rosemary Seninde, has directed school administrators to stop allowing badly dressed parents onto the school premises. Seninde said although some schools have already started implementing the directive, even those that are still lenient to such parents should immediately start. The minister said this while officiating at the Schools Club Skills exhibition at St. Teresa Namagunga Boarding Primary School in Mukono district. She said that schools is a place for nurturing and instilling values into the young ones and should be reserved for only decent parents. Seninde urged that the decent dressing should not stop only when parents are going to visit their children at schools, but also at home. Seninde started the day by touring over 15 different clubs, which were exhibiting things which the children do in a manner of developing hands-on skills into the infants. Let's move on to Arua district, where the residents of Rima sub-county were left in shock after a man identified as Geoffrey Oruma Apagara beheaded a 60-year-old woman. The deceased, identified as Fistula Chandru, was beheaded on allegations that her son was practicing witchcraft. Oruma is currently on the run, committed the offense on Friday afternoon at around 2 p.m. Chandru was beheaded in a garden 500 meters away from her home in Urima sub-county. The accused on several occasions claimed that Michael Alia, the son to the deceased, was bewitching people in the village. Alia left the village over fear of his life. Now this prompted Aluma to instead behead his mother. Lonzino Etrima, the LC3 chairperson of Urima sub-county, blamed the youth in the area for the inhuman act, citing drug abuse. The officer in charge of homicide told the community at the scene to cooperate with police and arrest the suspect for legal action. In Kitumu District, now Nyombi Thembo, the Uganda Communications Commission Director, Rural Communication Development Fund, over the weekend launched a community information center to increase use of internet services in the district. He said this is a strategy that will decrease physical interactions as it improves efficiency and effectiveness of service delivery as people interact with government online. The launch of the community information center was in collaboration with Uganda Posts Limited at their branch in Central Division, Kitumu Municipality. The Community Information Center, which is equipped with 10 computers of internet and powered by solar, would allow residents of Kitumu access free of charge e-government services. News from the capital, Kampala. The Uganda Prisons Services has commenced a countrywide recruitment for 1,000 warders and warderesses from 24th of July to 26th of the same month. Now, the institution's spokesperson, Buyende, said that the move is intended to plug the understaffing gap. He added the prisons currently have 9,500 staff with an inmate population of 57,000. The international standards ratio is 1 staffer to 3 inmates, but Uganda stands at 1 staffer to 7 inmates. Uganda Prison Services has issued a notice to the effect, signed by David Ahimbisuwe on behalf of the Secretary of the Prisons Council, detailing qualifications and requirements for those eligible. In Masinde District, about 8,000 non-commissioned officers of the Uganda Police at the rank of sergeant and corporal are still lacking refresher training in different basics necessary in implementing the services of the force. Non-commissioned officers are those at the front line who majorly implement orders from higher supervisors. According to the Director of Human Resource Development, Haruna Isabidie, over 9,000 non-commissioned officers have been promoted since 2011 without acquiring training to refresh their capacity to implement commands and regulations from their supervisors. Of the 9,000, only about 1,000 have been trained. Now, these trainings are aimed at improving leadership at the basic level, that is according to Isabidie. He made the statements during the pass out of 482 non-commissioned officers, which was presided over by the Deputy Inspector of Police, Major General Sabit Muzei, at KITABI Police Training School in Masindi over the weekend. In Bushenyi District, now hundreds of Christians on Saturday thronged KITABI Parish in Bushenyi to mark the parish's centenary celebrations. In a message that was delivered by the government Chief Whip Ruth Nankabira, President Yoweri Museveni congratulated the Catholic community upon marking 100 years in faith. He described KITABI as one of the oldest parish in the Archdiocese. Museveni said celebrating 100 years gives the church the opportunity to evaluate how far it has come from on the journey of evangelism and how far it still has to go. In the message, Museveni used the same occasion to remember and recognize the White Fathers who founded KITABI Parish on the 2nd of October 1919. Closing off the news around Uganda is a story from Kabalore District, where the Kabalore Resident District Commissioner Stephen Asimwe has asked the Tourism Ministry to adopt new strategies which would get more Ugandans involved in the sector. Asimwe said if the sector is to get many Ugandans out of poverty, they should be the main drivers as they generate income. Asimwe made the remarks last week during the Kabale Conservation Area Annual Stakeholders Forum held at Fort Portal Town. The forum was organized by the Uganda Wildlife Authority. We now take a look at the stories making news around the East African region. We start from Kenya, where the country is mourning Safaricom's chief executive officer who passed on this morning. The news of Robert William Colmore succumbing to acute myeloid leukemia shocked the country. In a statement issued by Nicholas Aganga, the country's chairperson states that the 61-year-old passed on from his home. Colmore has been at the helm of Safaricom's success. He helped build Safaricom into a leading telecom in the country. Bob Colmore left behind a wife and 4 children. He will be buried tomorrow. Still in Kenya, Southeast Sudan President Salva Kiir has arrived in Nairobi on a two-day state visit. During the visit, he is scheduled to hold talks with his Kenyan counterpart Uhuru Kenyatta. This is reported to be the first state visit for a South Sudanese leader. South Sudan has several of its citizens living in Kenya since the days of the civil war before the country came into existence on July 9, 2011 after a referendum to break away from Sudan. Some South Sudanese fled their country and found refuge in Kenya after the conflict in the new African country broke out in 2013. Now we move on to South Sudan. Reports from Juba say that the National Salvation Front rebels in the city waiting for the formation of a transitional government are being denied food and other services. Jacob Lado Paul, a spokesperson of NAS faction leader General Khalid Botras Bora, said 4 hotels had cut services to their delegates and were also threatened to kick them out of the rooms. New Vision TV has established the hotel's actions are in response to non-payment. Closing of the news around East Africa is a story from Tanzania, where Tanzania and Mozambican police have agreed to work together after 12 people were killed close to the border by suspected militants who had crossed over from Mozambique. Speaking along his Mozambican counterpart at the border on Sunday, Tanzania's police chief Simon Siro said that those who go against the law will be dealt with. We now move on to stories making news around the world. We start from Nigeria, where the authorities in Nigeria's legal state are searching for survivors after a boat with at least 17 people on board capsized on Saturday night. In a statement, they said capsized due to overloading, adding that the vessel was overturned by the heavy current. The passengers' boat had been traveling from Ajah on Lagos Island to Ikorodu on the mainland when the incident happened. News from Hong Kong. Now, anti-government protesters are trying to ram their way into Hong Kong's parliament battle police armed with pepper spray on Monday as the territory marked the anniversary of its handover to China. The angry scenes ramped up tensions in the international financial hub, which has been shaken by historic demonstrations in the past 3 weeks, driven by demands for the withdrawal of a bill that would allow extraditions to the Chinese mainland. Democracy activists kicked off another large march through the city on Monday afternoon. We move on to Syria, where Israeli airstrikes in Syria left 9 mostly foreign pro-regime fighters and 6 civilians, including 3 children, dead. Now, Britain's best war monitor said on Monday. The raids near Madagascar and in Homa province late Sunday killed the fighters, but it was not immediately clear exactly how the civilians died, whether in the strikes or in the aftermath. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the strikes hit several Iranian positions near Damascus and targeted a research center and a military airport west of the city of Homs, where the Lebanese Shiite movement Hezbollah and Iranians are deployed. News from Nepal. 1 person was killed in Nepal when police opened fire on protesters after a 12-year-old boy drowned to death in a sand mining pit, officials said on Monday. Angry crowds blocked the highway holding the young boy's body in the southern district of Salahi on Sunday, demanding the government stop rampant sand mining on rivers, which they say is putting local communities at risk. They're also demanding compensation for the family of the victim. Moving on to Germany now, unemployment in Germany held steady in June, official data showed Monday, after the measure rose of historic lows for the first time in almost 6 years the previous month. At 5.0%, the jobless rate was the same as in May, when it rose 0.1% points from April. Figures from the BA Federal Labor Agency showed the measure's steady level was in line with the forecast from analysts surveyed by the FactSet. We close off the news around the world from the United States, where a small twin-engine plane crashed on takeoff Sunday into a hangar at Texas airport, officials said, killing all 10 aboard. The plane was heading from Addison to St. Petersburg, Florida, and was carrying 2 flight crew and 8 passengers, said Bruce Landsberg, the vice chairperson of the National Transportation Safety Board. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we shall take a look at the news in business.